Every single year, a new camera drops, and somebody calls it the FX3 killer. And every single year, the FX3 is still here. I want you guys to kind of think about that first. We are literally in 2026, and camera companies with all their R&D budgets and all their engineers and all their marketing are still benchmarking their brand new cameras against a body that came out 6 years. Sony hasn't even released the Mark II. And quite frankly, they do not have to. And today I'm gonna tell you why. From 4 years of real use across multiple continents, shooting for brands like Nike, Adidas, and Puma, and even shooting documentary work. This is not just a spec sheet. This is the honest answer as to whether the FX3 is still worth your money in 2026. So I have owned the FX3 since 2022. Before this, I was shooting on a Sony A6400, which by far is a great camera, but it is a completely different league. When the FX3 dropped, the pitch was simple. Full frame cinema quality on a body small enough to take anywhere that you go. And I bought into that completely. At the time, it felt like a massive leap. And 5 years later, after shooting Nike ads, Puma events, Puma commercials, documentaries in Kenya, and YouTube videos all across the world, I can tell you that that leap held up. Let's kind of start with what nobody really debates anymore. The low light performance on this camera is insane. A lot of cameras claim to be good at low light, but the FX3 at 12,800 ISO is genuinely usable, and not usable with heavy color grading and denoising, like actually usable. And for the work that I do, documentaries, church events, real environments that do not have a lighting crew or can't afford one, this matters more than almost any other spec on paper. Beyond low light, what keeps coming back is just how well this camera fits into any situation. The Sony menu system in itself does get a lot of hate online, and honestly, I've never really understood why, because it hasn't really been that confusing for me. For me, it's pretty intuitive, and the lens ecosystem on the Sony E-mount is just unmatched right now. Whatever you're going for, whatever focal length you need, there is a native option or an adapted option that works. This camera is small enough to take on a plane without even checking a bag. It's durable enough to shoot in real conditions and consistent enough that I do not have to think about it on set. That combination in and of itself is rarer than a lot of people think. Two moments stand out for me specifically. The first one was in Kenya last year in 2024 when I was out there shooting a documentary. I was in real locations with no controlled environments and an unpredictable type of lighting. What hit me wasn't just the image quality that was coming out of the camera. It was the fact that I had 4 channels of audio and cinema quality footage in a body that I could move throughout the world. I was genuinely in awe of what this thing could do relative to how small it is. The second moment was a lot more recent for me. I was at the Nike EYBL All-Star Weekend tournament in LA. I was shooting the documentary for AZ Compass, and I had my FX9 with me too, which is a significantly larger, significantly more expensive camera. Over the last 3 months, I've been filming this sports documentary for AZ Compass Prep, and it has been an absolute blessing to capture their season. Even though it didn't end as we expected, it has definitely been an amazing ride. But when you're editing a project like this one, where you need that perfect mix of high energy, hype, and raw emotion, the music is actually everything. It's actually how I'm able to build the world whenever I'm editing. So when I first started taking filmmaking seriously in 2022, I was pulling music off of YouTube and constantly dealing with copyright strikes and things like that. And it was tough finding exactly what I wanted to use for my videos. But when I started landing professional gigs I used to dream about, I knew I definitely had to step it up in the edit. And so that's when I made the switch to Musicbed. Right now, a lot of the industry is pushing towards AI generated music, and to be honest, I'm not really that big of a fan, right? AI takes away from the artists who pour their time and soul into their craft. And as filmmakers, we get to collaborate with real people making real art. And I think that AI just misses the human connection that makes film beautiful. Musicbed exclusively represents real human artists, and To me, that is super important because, like all of you, I'm a real human making real art. That's the thing about human collaboration, right? AI can't do it. And just in the first 3 episodes of the documentary that I've been filming, I've used 8 different songs from Musicbed artists alone to build the right emotions. If you care about making work that actually feels human, you need to be using Musicbed. In my description, there's a link to make the switch and to start your 14-day free trial. So go check it out. I decided I was gonna trade with my wife and I was gonna hop on the gimbal, and I had the FX3 and I just kept thinking, the image coming out of this smaller camera body is so good that I'm questioning why I even own the FX9. That was the moment that I knew. I knew that I would be using the FX3 as my main travel run and gun camera for the foreseeable future. Even when I just recently came back from NAB, I was talking to one of the people at Sony, and we kind of came to the same agreement that like this camera will last for another 3, 4, maybe 5 years without the necessity of a Mark II. But what I will say is that I'm not here to sell you on the FX3. Like, Sony is not sponsoring this video. They are not seeing this video. I will say this, there are real limitations with the camera, and I would be doing you a disservice not to name them. The biggest one is no internal ND, and in 2026, this is kind of harder to overlook. When I'm shooting outside in the middle of the day and I need to control exposure, I'm either using a variable ND that I'm screwing to the front of the lens or working around it. The FX6 though has internal ND, and that's actually a big part of the reason why I'm looking at trading my FX9 for one. To use the FX6 as an A cam and keep the FX3 as a B cam, that's the move that makes probably the most sense to me right now. Another thing is the audio. You see, I'm happy that the FX3 records 4 channels, but it stops out at 24-bit audio. And in 2026, for serious documentary work, 32-bit float is the standard that I desire. The recoverability is just better. And honestly, if something clips or drops unexpectedly, you can actually save it. For a camera that has a lot of dynamic range in the footage, I would love it in the audio. So right now I am running a zoom recorder for the FX3 just to get that 32-bit float security. And it works, but it's just an extra piece of gear that I have to have in my backpack. But anyways, neither of it is a deal breaker, but they're honest trade-offs that you're gonna need to know before wanting to get one of these cameras. Now, right now, the camera I see a lot of people comparing against the FX3, most notably is the Nikon ZR. And yes, on paper, the ZR looks compelling, especially with the red raw capability. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna be honest, SD card prices are going up significantly because of the AI demand and infrastructure, so shooting in red raw at scale is just not really that practical for most people right now in this space, especially if you've seen SanDisk with their $2,000 SD card. If you strip that away, the red raw, the ZR is just a regular camera, to be honest, and the comparison to the FX3's dynamic range still holds up very well. And the fact that these are new cameras that are being marketed as FX3 killers should kind of tell you everything that you need to know about this camera by itself. You don't name your product as a killer of something that's already been replaced. You name it after whatever is still the standard. And the FX3 is the standard that these companies are trying to beat 6 years in, by the way. That is not nothing. So for a lot of you wondering, this is my honest answer on who should actually buy this camera right now. If you are somebody that is making content, whether it's YouTube, documentary, commercials, events, you know, different types of brand work, the FX3 is by far still one of the best decisions that you can make, especially on the used market. The efficiency, the durability, the consistency of the image is top tier. It's not just YouTubers saying this. If you look at which cameras are still being rented in rental houses and booked on platforms like ShareGrid right now, the FX3 is still on that list. That is real world validation. This camera is for anyone who needs a full frame cinema body that can survive the realities of production, whether that's travel, long days, varied environment, without fighting it. If you want something that you can really rely on, pick up and shoot and not have to babysit, this is exactly it. If you were to ask me if I would buy the FX3 again today at its current prices or even on the used market, my answer is a resounding yes, without hesitation. The full frame sensor, the lens options, the low light capability, the build, it has outlasted literally every camera that has came out in its era. I almost think of it as the freaking Stephen Curry of cameras, right? The used marketplace makes it even more of a no-brainer. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to, right? Sony has not even released a Mark II. Most manufacturers would push a successor within 3 or 4 years just to drive sales. But Sony has not even felt the need to, because the FX3 is still doing the job and is still one of the top cameras being bought today. It's almost a status symbol at this point. The Mark II would honestly just cannibalize the sales from their higher tiers body without offering meaningful enough upgrades, which honestly Sony has been doing a great job within software. A 6-year-old camera that new companies are still benchmarking against in 2026 kind of still feels like the M1 laptops from Apple. And that's not just hype, that is a track record. So if you're out here debating whether or not the FX3 is still worth it for you, I hope that this video in itself gave you a real answer from somebody that's actually been using it across 4 years of professional work. If you like this video, drop a comment below and let me know what camera you're currently using and what you're thinking about it right now, or if you're thinking about switching. I'd love to know where you guys are at, and if you see any of the footage I shot on this camera, whether it be Kenya, the Nike EYBL tournament, any of it, I'll link some of that along this video as well or in the description. And subscribe if this was useful, and I will see you guys in the next one.